Thank you for joining us in the Truckers Lounge. I am your veteran driver, Pre-Single.
All right, my name is Eugene Banks.
See
How you
here.
guys doing on today? Yeah,
Yeah, man. Guess what I've been
that's
here?
what's that?
Uh, uh, Yellow assets being sold off.
Well, they finally found them a buyer because I know they had been looking for a while. It's been they really looking for somebody. So I guess they finally found somebody or a couple people to go ahead and take that off their hands, huh?
Shit, couple my ass. It's a slew of them John.
Man,
You
you
know
know they were
what
gonna
I'm
rush
saying?
in to get them terms.
Man, shoot, man. You know what I'm saying? A Thanksgiving turkey got a better chance than Yellow's asset.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. I hadn't seen any of the union guys, that was doing a lot of content when all that situation with the closing down was going on, post anything about it yet.
Okay.
I don't know if they already know. If they don't, that's a good thing. We'll be one of the very few who actually touching on this.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be. So who's in that lineup trying to get on ahead and get that?
You said who's at the who? I'm
Who
sorry, I
who's
was
in
reading the
who
comment.
who's in that lineup trying to get the get with all the assets that Yellow got?
Man, there's a bunch of them, man. Matter of fact, you know what I'm saying? We got like a little slide here to show the players.
But they pretty much preferred if you had a handful of trucks, they'll give you a lane.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah. It was pretty cool, but just give a little background on myself. If I sound bitter when it comes to talking about corporate companies, it's because, my experiences with having accounts that pay really good money, man. Money that you can, you know, like grow off of.
Okay,
When those companies start coming in, the rates start dropping.
they do.
Where we're from, near the Memphis, Tennessee area, uh, they call this the hub of freight.
Right.
So, we had many options, into, as of what kind of freight that we haul. So I've seen personally how when these bigger companies start coming in to those lanes, how the rates start dripping down. So to
Yeah.
me, it's more bigger than what the news tells me.
Yeah.
So if I sound bitter, that's why I apologize if I do. But that's why I sound bitter, because I've seen this stuff with my own eyes. It's no conspiracy theory about that. But go ahead, Gene.
yeah.
Sorry, I mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I know that that's usually the game plan for a lot of them. I recall I used to be leased on to Landstar, and I used to do a load from Dallas to back to Memphis, Tennessee. And I
Hmm.
used to, well, let me rephrase that. I would come from Dallas, but I would pick the load up in Texarkana, Arkansas, Cooper Tire over there. And I
Right.
could pretty much count on doing those loads out of there to come back to Memphis. So I remember calling the broker at one time and I said, "Hey, you got one of them loads, coming from Texarkana back to Memphis?" He said, "Oh man, I'll never get one of those loads again." I said, "Why
Yeah.
not?" He said, Warner ended up getting that account, and they took that account saying something about trying to get their trucks back to Memphis. He said they doing it for $300.
Yeah.
Now that lane is like 275 miles or so from Texarkana back to Memphis, and he said Warner was doing it for $300, so it underbid him and he couldn't do it. And I said, "Oh," I say,
Yeah.
"Yeah, they're doing it." I said, "Because coming with a drive-in, coming
Yeah.
out of Texas back to Memphis is real hard and cheap."
Right.
And I said, "I could just imagine." I said, "They have a terminal in the Memphis area," and I said, "I just imagine it's probably difficult bringing that many trucks back. That's why they were willing to do it for that cheap."
Right.
But it hurt me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I had to go back to the drawing board. But carriers do it all the time.
Right. Right. And then, people say, and I'm one who said too, well, you can't really blame the broker. They actually, making more money, or whatever, and they'll say you can't blame the carrier, they got a big account going one way.
Yeah.
But it seemed, but to me it seemed like in this industry, the only ones who really catches a lot of the blame and catches a lot of the backlash is the small guy. So,
Yeah.
when are we gonna start, holding the bigger companies accountable? You
Yeah.
know, you know what I'm saying? Look at that list. You mean to tell me out of that whole list that we just showed,
Once a lot of those larger carriers come in, they want to. I guess the goal is to control it. Get
yeah,
it. We're gonna put our trucks on it, and we're gonna broker out the rest.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and they broke out the smallest amount, the most less important loads, so that if we get them a rate that they don't like $2.50 a mile, and they want to be at $1.20, they just let it sit to one of their trucks come available until one of us, you know, tap out and take it. You know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because they
Yeah.
have that control. If a lot of the owner operators say, "Hey, well, I'm not gonna take that.
Yeah.
Let's let it sit on the dock." Well, they have the control, because a lot of them are scheduling those loads themselves, so they have the control to say, "Hey,
Oh yeah.
we're not gonna be able to pick that load up today. We're gonna push it out to tomorrow, or we're gonna
Yeah.
push it out to next week." You know what I'm saying? Because they have that
Exactly.
control.
Yeah, because because in the world of retail, and being that a lot of the product that we have over here in the United States in terms of retail is from overseas. Shippers aren't necessarily manufacturers anymore. They're more like storage houses. So
Right,
so
right.
you got trucking companies like the LTL company. L- A lot of people don't say this, but these LTL companies, they have warehouses and docks. Technically, they are shippers.
Hmm.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So they
yeah.
have a lot of power over how that freight moves, when it moves. Eh, They got a lot of power over that.
Right,
Amazon, shipper,
right,
not a manufacturer, shipper. That's what they are.
right.
And trucking company and brokerage. You
Doing
see
everything
how
in
they round in
house.
the wagons? Yeah, you see how they
Yeah,
round the wagons? Yeah.
yeah. And that's one of the things we learned this year, through a lot of our research that you and I have been doing, was that, a lot of the shippers were beginning to do everything in house. They were going away from, a lot of them are moving away from just using brokers to say, hey, well, we're going to start doing, going to go out and get our own trucks, own trailers, and we're going to start booking our own loads, you
Yeah.
know. And I think a lot of them were kind of like within a 3 to 500 mile radius. They were doing it themselves,
Right.
you know.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah. But you think about it though.
hmm.
And I'm just gonna use drop shipping for an example, just to try to get the audience who's really not like totally familiar with the logistic industry to see how it works. So I'm gonna use drop shipping as an example.
Okay.
Uh so we know how drop shipping works. So if you order product from overseas, right?
Hmm.
Okay, we know that it doesn't just stop at making the order. You either got to let an outfit orchestrate your shipment to till it get over here to the US, and you find a storage for it, right?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Or if you do it yourself, you're going to organize it, getting on the container, getting on the ship, and getting over here.
Right.
Uh, People who really know about drop shipping, they probably won't, never thought to look at it like this. Technically, you are the exporter and importer slash shipper because it's your product. Now you're
Yeah.
hiring an outfit to store it for you. If that outfit that stored it for you conveniently has a trucking company and give you a good rate, are you going to go try to find an owner operator?
No,
You
you
know what
trying
I
to,
mean?
you come out better
Yeah.
if you can find a one stop shop.
A one stop shop. One
Because it's
stop shop.
less work for you, because
Right.
we found out in the past few years with a lot of people, with when it comes to most people getting off into business ventures,
Right.
everybody's looking for a passive income.
Right.
So they looking
Right.
at it at that as passive income. So I don't want to do all this extra work if this is supposed to be passive income. And
Right.
so if I can find a one stop shop, hey, why not?
Exactly. So my point in making this is, like any owner operator or aspiring owner operator watching, when we talk about unity, we talking about a whole nother level now. Because even
Right,
if we do unify, we can't make them give us freight at the rates that we would like it to be. They still be in control because they still not only able to get real estate, they're able to get vehicles to transport the product as well. So,
right.
we have to think about it. What is unity? What is it? I mean, like, what does it mean in today's world of logistics? Well, to me, unity means uh 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 rounding the tables ourselves. Unity means not only trucks, which is that's what most of us as owner operators know. That means
Yeah.
teaming up with smaller companies that do warehousing, importing and exporting.
Hmm.
See, because as long as we don't have unity, each one of us are going to continue running to them. The ones that's going to be in control, have control, going to tell you that your rates can only be set by open market. You have to bid on everything. You
Right.
know, so that was my point in using the drop shipping, to help anybody watching understand who the shipper and receivers truly are. The true shippers and receivers really don't want to talk to us. And now you got the competition, which biggest XPO is, long as they running trucks, they are considered our competition. They round in the table. So we have to work for them, not
Yeah.
as independent contractors, but as solely responsible for all the expense employees, really.
Hmm.
And I just don't
For
think that's right.
yeah, for less of the share of the
Yeah,
money, you know.
yeah.
So whatever they're getting paid from the shipper, you're gonna get probably half of that, and still having to try to maintain an operation on every expense off of half of what they would have got.
No, you're not going to even get half of it because they still got to keep some of that money just in case something happens. So you may get
Right,
20 to 25% of it,
right.
maybe. Because see, we've seen the cost that it costs to ship a container over here. Just by just studying the drop shipping stuff. We've
Yeah.
seen that cost. You know what I'm saying? Man, that bill runs up to $5,000 or $6,000,
Hmm.
and that's not even a full container.
Yeah, it's a lot. It goes through a lot of hands, and there's a lot of
Right,
money, and yeah, yeah, it's a
right,
lot of money that's tied up into one container.
right, right. So that's why I say, when freight get over here, you know, which I understand that it goes to a lot, but we know the rates in intermodal. If we ordering something from overseas and they go to Savannah, say that it go to Savannah, well, the carrier is probably gonna only get about 200, 250 of that to take it to the port, to the rail, depending on how far the rail is.
Right.
If that box got to get up here to where we at. So who's finna get the most of the money, what I'm saying, after that, right?
The freight forwarder.
No, it's gonna be the railroad.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Cause see, there you go.
If you're a drop shipper, you as a drop shipper most likely are going to hire a freight forwarder to
Yeah,
orchestrate this for you.
right. Because
Which
that
which
is who's orchestrating the move from one country to the next. So yeah, you're
right.
right.
So yeah, so you're essentially, dubbing the freight forwarder as the shipper.
Right.
Because he's in control of your product, he gonna make sure you get from point A to point B. That's all you worried about. You get from point A to point B. He's gonna orchestrate that $5,000 from the time it shipped from overseas to over here. So the vessel and the railroad getting the most of the money.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And you paying $5,000 to have that box move. That might be $15,000 worth of product enough for you, but that's a whole nother hustle, a whole nother topic, a whole nother platform. I was just
Mm,
using drop shipping,
yeah.
to
As an
just
example.
demonstrate,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
how we see that works.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's something. Because that's with how the freight of how the movement of the freight moves, and all the control that a lot of the carriers have, all the hands that's involved in it, you
Right.
know is what sometimes makes it so confusing
Yeah.
as to know, like, okay, how do I become a player in that?
Right.
Is there any room left for me as a small guy? you know do I have a voice?
Right.
And oftentimes when the larger players play a part in, the only voice you have is what they say.
Right.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. Yeah. And as an independent contractor, speaking from experience, man, you face so much, like, you got your expenses, of course, and of course the customer, I've heard people saying it, a customer is not supposed to be responsible for your expenses. That is true. That's why you're supposed to factor all your expenses in and come up with a rate, you know.
right.
But we get the raw deal because a lot of programs, like maintenance programs and all that, you don't qualify for a certain tier of it unless you got so many trucks. But more trucks you got, more expenses that you create, and so you flirting with danger either way. As a lot of us found out when the economy flipped on us like it did, the economy during the pandemic definitely flipped on its head.
Yeah,
Uh, and a
it
lot of people
did.
got blindsided. That's why a lot of people went out of business. Those who had never been in the trucking business, as far as like owning a business, the thing you got to understand, especially for the small guy, you tie up so much money in trucking. You got your insurance. The FMCSA wants you to have a BOC3. You got to have your
Hmm.
authority. You got to pay a unified carrier registration every year. You got your yearly heavy highway taxes, and then you got your tags. You got
Right.
so much expenses tied up that even when
Yeah.
you do sign on owner operators, you're trying to create some kind of program for them to where they won't have to be out of so much money up front, so
Up
you can get
front.
the
Yeah.
money on the back end, that it still puts you in the hole if they don't last to a certain amount of time with you, to be able to
Right.
factor that money back out of them that you put up to get them started. So that's why a lot of companies went out of business. I'm sorry, Eugene, go ahead.
No, no. And I was gonna say that that right there makes it kind of scary for a small company. If you're an owner operator trying to lease on owner operators, if you're trying to put up the money,
Right,
to lease on drivers, if you're willing to put up the money, okay, well, I'll go ahead and put down your down payment for your insurance.
right,
Well, what guarantee do you have that he's going to stay for you to get that money back?
right,
you
right,
know, what
exactly,
guarantee will you have that he's going to stay for you to get the money back that you put up to bring him in, which
right.
is it's a lot of money.
Right. And then see, now I can imagine that it's tough now because see, now, but you can still come in and say, well, hey, you pay for all your expenses like you're on an operator, and you can get half of everything. You can see all the books or whatever, however they like to see. There's one guy they called him Mr. Raycon guy. I thought that was funny, but unnecessary. It was funny, called him Mr. Raycon. But like even if that's the case, the rates aren't there now, so you're still not making
No.
any money. You know what I mean? So it just defeat the purpose. So as bitter as I could be about the situation, I can understand why drivers will go to a bigger company because it's
Right.
a safety net there.
Right.
But
You got that umbrella. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. But see, I just feel like they cornered us like that to
Hmm.
be able to put us in a position of where we have to accept that if you're trying to build a business, it's going to be very difficult unless you got some loyal, safe guys. No need in having loyal and reckless guys in the trucks. But if you got some loyal, safe guys
Yeah.
that's willing to stick it out with you, you can grow. But a lot of us not having that luck of finding guys like that. In actuality, you can't blame them.
No. No, you can't because that's uh man, that's kind of hard to find,
Yeah,
when you're looking for uh workers. It's easy to put up ads on Indeed or on online that you're hiring drivers, but
right.
you just don't know what you're gonna get, what pool of drivers you're gonna get. So
Oh
that
man, I got so many stories to tell about that,
I know you do.
man.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
because
could make a movie just off running a trucking business. I can make a movie just off my experience with that, man. I really met some characters.
now how many for the people who don't know, how many trucks did you have at one point?
Oh man, what was it like? Around 16 trucks, man. I had rolling, man. When we had got started, I had no intentions to grow like that. I've been driving ever since 2000. Never
Oh.
really, like I was curious about it along the lines, but in 2018, I decided to try it out, and I wanted to remain a one truck operation for at least the first 3 to 5 years, but it didn't work out like
Right.
that. I had a buddy I had a buddy that had got in a situation, had fallen out with a couple of companies, and me and
Yeah.
him decided to get together and because he's so friendly,
Right.
guys were coming out the wazoo just wanting to sign on, So, uh,
Right.
yeah, so I had a pretty good run, but I ran into some characters, man. I
Oh
really
yeah.
did. But at
Yeah.
the same time, being new in the industry, the reason why I can talk about the industry like I talk now because of my experience. But when you new in the industry, you don't really have nobody teaching you the business side of trucking.
Right.
And
Most people don't know it.
yeah,
Most people don't
man.
know the actual
Yeah.
business. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And the only thing that really helped me is before I got into it, I got an associate degree in business administration. That helped me kind of break down a lot of things,
Right.
but still, it was a side of the field that I was familiar with that no, let me phrase that. It was a
Okay.
side of the field that I was unfamiliar with in the industry that I've been in since 2000. Because the
Okay.
only thing I knew about was the trucking side. Yeah, I worked in warehouses before, but never knew how the operations went on in the background.
Right. Right. The
Yeah,
maintenance and all that type of stuff that goes
right.
along with it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm saying? The maintenance, who the gatekeepers truly are, because see, you will run into people that you thinking are the source for freight, and they
Mhm.
actually the gatekeepers, making money off you too, even though
Right.
they may not be brokers, but they're in the way of you getting to the main person. But what I later found out is that if you don't have for certain warehouses, if you don't have like 100 trucks, 200 trucks, 300 trucks, they don't want to talk to you anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
and
want the guy blocking you.
and then some of them will give you the opportunity, and they'll say, you got to have at least five. I've seen places, say you had to have at least five trucks, but
Yeah,
those are your small, maybe 2-3 dock, warehouses,
right,
that
right,
will give you a minimum of five.
right,
So
right. Well, and you know what I'm saying? And then another poison about not understanding business is that even when we would get these accounts with a lot of these shippers, we put too much of our heart in it, you know what I mean? And what I
yeah.
mean by that is this right here. It's a difference between having a friend and a business relationship. You can have a business relationship and you could talk about football, sports, women, whatever y'all like. But at the end of the day, y'all a relationship was formed around business. So whatever goes on in business may trump, all the side talk that you have in this relationship. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
it started with a business. So, that's where I know I made my mistake here. When I did get like good context to work with, I would let them get too close. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And you know what I'm saying? Instead of keeping the business and keeping that arm lengths. But like I say, when you knew on the side of the industry you've been in for years, you don't know. You know,
Yeah, that's
it
true.
just about everything you hear is hearsay because in this industry here, everybody knows something. And really and truly, everybody knows something, but everybody don't either. You can listen to the wrong people too. They just going off of,
and you
like
can
what they hear.
And you can pretty much tell from
Yeah.
people's conversation what they're about.
Yeah.
You can tell, how much they know. You can tell who's running a business emotionally.
Yeah.
You can tell who just don't know anything,
Yeah.
and that doesn't make you a bad person because you don't know. The
Right.
problem is with a lot of owner operators or a lot of small, just guys with a handful of trucks is they refuse to learn any better. You
Smoking
know,
the bandit mentality. That's how I call
you're right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, they refuse to get any extra training, any extra learning, ask questions, taking courses, taking classes, especially if you want to try and expand.
Yeah.
So I think that's the downfall of a lot of one truck or five truck guys, refuse to reinvent themselves. And I've said that a few
Yeah.
times before. Don't you got to reinvent yourself. Things aren't going to stay the same.
Right. Right. And that's another factor, complacency. But look, I want to bag it up for a second.
Okay.
Back to where I was talking about, my experience with the business, and we was talking about mismanagement and everything. Now back to yellow. Uh,
Uh-huh.
that was what I kind of wanted to touch on. Uh, that's part of the reason why they went out of business. See, they had execs, which a lot of us already know about it, but I'm just gonna touch back on it. They had
Mhm.
execs, basically stealing money, and the reason why I say that they were stealing money because they probably was getting money that they thought was there, was either going to replenish itself, and it didn't,
Mhm.
and they went out of business.
Yeah.
They probably been doing that crap for years, and it
Right.
just
Well,
never really hit them,
and
until
that's
stuff started getting bad.
and that was the complaint, that they were
Right.
saying that they money mismanagement
Yeah.
over all those years because this last bailout that they had gotten during the pandemic, I think it was 700 some million. Was it 700 some million, right?
Yeah.
And that wasn't the first time they've had a bailout.
Right.
So it's just money mismanagement.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what I'm saying? And so like if you surprised that a big John like that went out of business, for the ones who had they turn in the industry on a smaller level, it's the
Hmm.
same thing. It's just on a bigger level. You know what I mean? I mean, just picture,
Right.
what I'm saying, just the ones who had the trucking business and didn't make it. Multiply yourself by 50,000. Let's
Okay.
say you got 50,000 trucks, you're gonna have to have some execs. You're gonna have to have, so that's gonna what I'm saying, also multiply the amount of money you making by 50,000 or more as well. So the only thing is that it's the same scenario, just a bigger situation because of
Yeah.
their bigger company. But the same
Yeah.
thing to them that happens to a regular owner operator.
Hmm.
Money was mismanaged. A lot of owner operators went out of business because either money was mismanaged or or expenses ate them up to where that when the economy flipped, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Getting back in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Right.
so that can happen to the bigger companies too. That's I just want to touch back on that.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, I was saying that yeah, that makes sense that because I know that kind of hurt me. I think that was back in early 2020 when I decided to shut down. I was having one major breakdown after
Right,
another. Get this fixed, here comes something else. Then
right.
I think the last straw was my transmission, and the rates had dropped.
Yeah,
The beginning of 2020, end
right.
of 2019, 2020. Oh man, them rates were horrible.
Yeah.
Some of the rates we used to get just doing some local stuff started being
Yeah.
cut in half. And so along with my truck having issues, I said, no, it's not worth it.
Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? Just thinking about them races because see, because when I got in the game, I started off, as an owner operator running the road, but that didn't even last a year, I don't believe, did it? And then
No,
we
like a few
started
months
pulling,
or so.
yeah, we started pulling cotton and everything local, man. And I'm talking about it was love.
Hmm.
Man, too many
It
guys got
didn't.
wind of it.
And I
Huh?
was gonna say we didn't have a whole lot of competition at the time.
Too many
Yeah,
guys.
did.
Man, that rate, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what happened to the agricultural sector, but them big companies started coming in and
Hmm.
man, and sucked the life out of it. I'm talking about I was home every day. And and now keep in mind it was 2018. I had a truck that was getting 4.2 miles to the gallon. I was almost working that old till it was ridiculous. 4.2
Yeah.
miles to the gallon, and I was still able to take home around 3,000 or better a week,
Right.
just pulling seeds and cotton. Man, them big
Right.
companies came into play, and I'm gonna call some of them named Coyote. Yeah,
Hmm.
Coyote. Uh, what?
DHL.
What's
DHL came in, didn't it?
But DHL came in with the warehouse. They murdered the whole situation. I ain't lying. They
Yeah,
murdered the
they
whole situation.
yeah, they started taking over the brokering of that stuff, and You have
Yeah.
to start going through them. Then, like,
No,
wow.
DHL didn't take over the brokering. They was passing, Bayers was over there. They was passing it out to the bigger brokers. Now they still
Oh,
had their
okay.
good old
Yeah.
boys that still had what I'm saying, a little bit, what I'm saying, time left in it. They probably out now. But there was another one. What's the one the company out of Clinton, Mississippi?
Clinton,
Gulf?
Mississippi.
Is it Gulf
Well,
Relay?
I know they out of. I don't know where they from, but I know they out of
Yeah.
Mississippi.
Man, Gulf
Yeah.
Relay started coming in.
Oh yeah.
Man, I'm
Well, they
telling
do
you.
containers, don't they? Or weren't they doing containers?
Well, I know they do
Gulf
dry
Relay.
van,
Okay.
and brokering. So, so I say this to say when in 2018 and 19, it was number small brokerage had their hands on the agricultural sector as far as like cotton and seeds, and they were being fair. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
why I'm not totally against brokers. I know a lot of drivers out here, they mad and they like, brokers are criminals. Man, 2018 when I got started in having my own authority, those smaller brokers, a lot of them for the most part that I dealt with, they were fair. They made
Yeah.
sure you ate. You know what I mean? They took care of you. If you took care of them, they took care of you because they were trying to grow too. You
Right.
know what I mean? So they wasn't out to try to like mess over you. You know what I mean? Cause man, I did pretty good. Shoot, sometimes I'll make 1,200, 1,400 a day. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
It was possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of y'all gonna say, "Well, how that line up with $3,000 above a week?" I told you I had a truck that was getting on 4.2 miles a gallon, and I had mismatched tires. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying. Starting out was rough. It really was.
Yeah.
So that's how I only end up bringing in, a little bit over 3,000 a week.
Hmm.
That's sucking me up. But the state that the economy was in, you could
Right.
survive off that. If you were smart with your money.
And diesel at that time in 2018, diesel was just 265, 285 a
I
gallon.
tell you, preach
Yeah.
now,
So
preach.
yeah, so that was lovely.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. That shit done doubled since then.
It has. Yep.
Yeah, shit. So yeah, so it was a little bit different though, man. But we ain't gonna harp on that too long. Uh, now,
Yeah.
now, this next topic, this here, you know what I'm saying? One of your specials, man. We talking about ELDs, man. The FMCSA starting up a lot of shit.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, they I know they had 10 ELDs that they got listed that companies they can't drivers or carriers can no longer use anymore. Now I
right.
know one of the owners of the company, or one of the representatives of one of these companies said that they didn't get any notice.
Yeah,
No one said anything to them. They just pretty much just like got a letter, or there was an announcement out the blue saying that, hey, they were pretty much off of their register. They had, I think they all have until like the end of January
to the 30.
to the January the 30th, right?
Yeah, is it, hold on a second, replace? No, well, I know it says that the drivers have up to January the 30th to replace their ELDs, but
Uh,
I'm wondering, is that the
now
same case for the ELD company?
I would imagine so. It would be the same case for those providers to do something to become, um, to I guess, be what's the word I'm looking for, to pretty much be legal for FMCSA to be able to
Right.
use it. So
Don't laugh, it ain't funny, but go ahead.
yeah, but that's I don't know. But with these companies, I've never heard of these companies. I think I
Meaning,
may have heard of ELD to go, because I think some of these companies were at truck stops. Because a lot of these ELDs you will see in the glass at the pilots or the TAs, you know, and a lot of these guys were online. Because when I first got my authority, I found a no name company that was fairly cheap, and I was I was having all kinds of problems. So it was a whole bunch of them that's out there.
right.
But these here, I've never really heard of them. But for the guys that's watching, or that will be watching, I hope y'all came across this article and looking at this, and if you guys have this any of these ELD providers, y'all got to figure out a way to go ahead and upgrade before that deadline.
Not necessarily. You put pressure
Okay.
on the ad. Put pressure on the ad because, like, if they're a legitimate ELD company, you know what I'm saying. This putting drivers in a bind because
It does.
unless they gon' if they like most ELD companies, they wanted upfront money for the equipment, a
Eh,
deposit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they
Yeah,
gonna have
you
to
got.
turn some money loose. They can't just,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? These guys, you know what I'm saying, had to, you know what I'm saying, unless, their agreement coming up at, you know what I'm saying, at the end of this year anyway. But
Right.
but for the ones who locked in with them on a yearly contract, like companies like Motor, formerly known as Keep Trucking,
Keep
they
trucking. Yeah.
locking you in at a year or two contract. You know what I
Right.
mean? So if it's a case like that, nah, you put pressure on their ass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No, man, you know what I'm saying? Y'all need to, you know what I'm saying, to get current with the FMCSA policy, man, because if I have to leave, y'all need to give me some money back.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
I know the one that I had gotten with that I can't even think of it. I only had them for about a month, 2 months, because I was having all kinds of problems out of them.
Yeah.
They did a month to month. I guess
Mm,
they did a month to month. There was no contract, and they did a month to month. I guess because hey, they were more of a startup,
right.
and I was able to get out of that with no problem, and ended up going to Keep Trucking at the time. But depending on who these are, they may not have those 1 year contracts, or those big deposits. Some of them
Yeah.
may just be month to month. It just depends on who the company is.
Well, I'm looking at Power Truck ELD. I'm looking at their website now. It says their ELD hardware, the PT30, that was $220. Okay, so this sounding like, just like you said, it's one of them companies that you just buy the hardware. They let you buy it at an
Uh,
affordable price, and then it's probably just a hook up and go, and then you download the app.
right,
Yes, yeah, it's just got on here where you could download the app on Android and Apple, and they got a
right.
user's guide here you can download. So they probably finna, so that's the FMCSA way of probably running ads out of business because that's a good, that's an easy way to make money if you're a software developer. To the,
Hmm.
what I'm saying, to be able to not be regulated and have an ELD service that you just operating in the cloud.
Yeah, it does make it real simple for them because I was having all kinds of issues. I didn't like. It was showing that I was places I really wasn't.
Yeah,
I was always calling in. When I call in and say, "Hey, it's showing that I'm doing this," it's still showing me I'm 30 miles back. And
right,
they said, "Oh, did you update your phone?" So they walked me through how to update the phone. Then they had to walk me through to update their software because they were doing updates every week or every few days.
right.
I just got tired of doing that. It was always something going on with that thing.
But you know what I'm saying. I tell you what though, uh, I rather see Motive is a company. Now you got a lot of technology. I mean, if the money's out there, man, you wouldn't want a better software as far as your ELD. I mean, it's a powerful tool. It really is.
Yeah.
But but to save money, oh, I rock with this all day.
Uh huh.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
With
Especially if you
what's
got
going on
multiple
now.
trucks.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then what's going on now. I mean, the rates done dropped. Something like this is affordable.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
It would be.
yeah, for a
I know.
camera, the hardware and the hardware and the service. Well, I'm just gonna say the camera and the hardware. They was like over $400 a piece per truck.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at like $900 that I'm
Mm.
paying,
Up front.
for a deposit for this truck, and then every year you got to renew the service. You know, I mean, I was out
Yeah.
of ooh, I say yearly. I had to go back and look to make sure, but it was around, I say 2000. What wasn't it like 2000 when they started adding them cameras? Wasn't it like something like 2000 a
I,
year?
wa- I think that was about 21,
Something?
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
2020, 2021 when they came out their cameras.
yeah, yeah. So it got real expensive, for what was going on in the economy and everything. So with with companies like this, I don't know what's going on with them besides they're not meeting the minimum requirement. But
Yeah.
this is seems beneficial for the smaller guy,
Hmm.
because what was it, Samsara, Motive, uh they are like starting to be more geared toward bigger trucking companies.
And I'm pretty sure that's what they were aiming for to be able to
Of course.
attract those companies because
Yeah.
Qualcomm, PeopleNet, all those are big players, for the larger trucking companies. And I'm
Right.
pretty sure they would love to get some of that, some of those contracts.
Well, they are because you see more drivers now using their phones to run their ELD now than a Qualcomm in a lot of cases. You still got your traditional
Right.
truck companies like your Swifts and all that. They still got the Qualcomm, but a lot of those mid-side carriers and large carriers, not the mega carriers, the large carriers, they
Hmm.
using stuff like Motive, PeopleNet, Samsara. It's more affordable than putting that hardware inside the truck. It's
Right.
more affordable to let the driver use their electronic device and just run it off an app.
hmm
Yeah,
It would be. Yeah. And but shoot, them apps would take up a whole lot of space on the phone.
yeah,
I think that with that keep trucking, yeah, it used to take up a whole lot of space
yeah,
on the phone. But like you said before, keep trucking when it in terms of being an owner operator or having a small fleet, just to have the analytics and have being able to
oh
look
man,
at
it's
the
powerful.
right, being able to look at the diagnostics, it'll show you right away, what's going on with your truck, all the check engine lights and the different codes that's coming up. And now you can pretty much kind of diagnose your own stuff without actually having to go to the shop,
Yeah, it
you
helped me
know.
a lot. It helped me save money, in the shop a lot to, like once I learned how to read those diagnoses, I
Right.
was able to save a few bucks in time just diagnosing myself because Lord knows you go to the shop now if you got a newer truck, a lot of the shade tree mechanics won't touch it because all the hell is filled with electricity and computer, all that stuff. So you
Yeah.
go hell, they want to charge you 200 some dollars an hour just to park over there. Shit. Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
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 Then they'll hold
Yeah.
your shit
So
hostage.
right, right. And
Shout out to Tag Truck Center on American Way in Memphis, Tennessee.
I've never since I had my truck, I have never used them. The last time because I used to drive for an owner operator.
Yeah.
And when I was driving for an owner operator, that's back when Freightliner was charging their shot rate was just 105 an hour.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
what year was this?
2000.
1981, you say?
Man, no. that was that
It feels like
was
it how they done went up. Shit, they at what, two and a
yeah.
quarter an hour there?
I think they like 205, 215 right now, but they were 105 and that was in like '07, '08, stuff like that. They were 105 an hour,
Uh,
but they pretty much most of those dealerships, they do that express assessment on
mm,
your truck. They basically came up. I think Freightline was the first one to come up with that. A 2 hour express assessment, and they had you thinking, "Oh man, we gonna get you in here within 2 hours. We're gonna know what's wrong with your truck. We're gonna." They don't tell you that they're gonna diagnose your truck because that's false advertising. They
right,
tell you that we're gonna assess it. That's
right,
that's where they the word play. That's where they
right.
get you. We're gonna assess your truck within 2 hours. Now, after them two
What was
hours,
R. Kelly's famous word, when he was on the interview with Gayle King?
what do you say?
Lies. That's how I feel about the trucking.
Right.
But go ahead, go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah,
you know
man.
what I'm saying? Yeah, they tell you all that bullshit, be lied. They be holding
Mhm.
your shit hostage.
Oh man, yeah, they had me feeling like, man, they gonna really get me up out of here,
Yeah,
because I was having issues with my at the time my EGR cooler and my EGR valve, and man, they had me thinking that they was finna get me up out of there. Had me thinking that man, they finna find a problem within these 2 hours, and I'm on my way. After
right.
them 2 hours was up, man, they kept coming in checking on, hey, how you doing? Hey, we just letting you know, in 30 minutes, we're gonna pull your truck into the shop. I said, okay, thank you.
Uh,
After them 30 minutes, they came back there and said, we just let you know we brought your truck into the shop, into a bay. We getting somebody on it right now to assess the problem. I said, golly, man,
yeah,
Freightliner, man.
yeah,
Yeah, but after they got that truck in the shop, they stopped coming. They stopped coming to their driver lounge to check on me to tell me what was going on and what was up. I had to start finding folks, and they end up going on lunch, and they said, well, we found it's an issue with your EGR valve. I said, well, yeah, I know. I brought it in for that. I wrote that down on my paperwork that I'm having issues with my EGR valve. I said, so what's going on with it? Is it a sensor? Is it this? Is it that? Does it have to be replaced? And
yeah.
they were like, well, we're gonna have to get another mechanic on it. We'll let you know, but we're gonna have to assess it further.
Right,
So now, what a driver is left with after these 2 hours of an assessment, now you left with the decision. They already got me now. They
right,
got me for this labor. So do I keep my truck here? Because the only thing they're gonna do is put a number on it and put it in the back somewhere. Do I
right,
keep my truck here because now they already got me for some money, or do I take my truck and go elsewhere?
right, right.
And if you don't have a relationship with the truck with that shop, or you haven't seen any good reviews with that shop, uh, if it ain't nothing major, you might probably come out better just going elsewhere. If it's
Yeah,
something you can continue to drive on. But hey, if you don't have a choice, you just don't have a choice. But in my case, my truck sat for the weekend. They never touched it, so I ended up having to get my truck,
yeah,
and I never went back. And that was in 2015. That was the last time I went to Freightliner.
yeah. They did me like they did old boy from that movie Road Trip, but I didn't get the satisfaction he got.
Road trip? What are you talking about?
No, boy in the nurse office, the nurse's office.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't get the satisfaction he got. That's an inside joke, y'all. We can't tell
Yeah.
y'all about that. Next time, I'm gonna start like pre these comments so I can have some little clips to
Yeah,
show up.
put that in the clip, put that in the scenes.
Hashtag. Yeah, man. Hey, I'm talking about my very first load out, man. Some old man, I don't know what to call this dude, man. He was somebody that picks up brush on the side of the road, throw it in the back of his truck. And man, he had a big branch hanging down, man. I'm coming around, down a 2-lane highway, man. It's traffic like out the wazoo on that highway, man. And I'm trying to get over. I see the branch coming, man. This butthole knocked my mirror completely off on the very first load out with my own authority. After
Wow.
waiting all, you know what I'm saying, about 30 days to become active. That's another thing. And man, Freightliner charged me $1,200 to replace that mirror, and they kept my truck for 2 days.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shout out
that's
to Tag on American Way in Memphis, Tennessee. Shout out to
yeah,
them.
I think that's what I told you about, because yeah, you were just getting started. That's when I told you about some of my guys. Yeah, I said, "Oh, man, I wish you had told me. I wish I'd have
Man,
known
I was
then."
panicking. It was like 6 o'clock in the evening, man. It was a night load out.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
Everything was closed, man. I ain't know what to do. I ain't never dealt with a broker before. I'm thinking like, man, this gonna look bad on me, man.
Mhm.
And the first load was with Coyote. I shouldn't even panic had I known Coyote was what they were.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I remember when you told me you had did that, man, I was like, "Man,
yeah,
I ain't wanna hear the price." When you said, "Yeah, I took my truck to Tag," man, I said, "Golly, don't even tell
man.
me."
that dude there, man. Man, I'm so glad I know God. Man, he lied to me. Yeah, man, we get you out the same night, man. Cause I called up there before I even went, cause I had
Okay.
already heard about the stories with Tag. How they handle owner operators, man. It's like it's always a problem, you
Right.
know. And man, I did not want to go, but man, I'm thinking since I'm talking to a brother. Man, we gonna get you out of the same night. And had me bring my truck up there, check my truck in. I come call back around by 10 o'clock that night. He gone home. Next
Mm.
shift, like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's over there being diagnosed. I said, diagnosed? A
Yeah.
mirror? You know what I'm saying? What you thought it threw a rod or something because the mirror got knocked off or something? You know what I mean? Just,
Yeah. Because
yeah.
and you would think that they would have jumped on that because that's an easy job. I would at least I would think that would be a simple job.
Well, they end up saying they had to order the mirror.
Okay.
Yeah, the next day they tell me this. Then,
Okay.
I'm like, well, I could take my truck somewhere else. Okay, well, that'll be I think they charged me like 4 hours. Yeah,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? They was trying to charge me like 4 hours, man. So I'm thinking, I'm like, okay. So I don't want to pay them that kind of money for not doing nothing. So it's just a mirror. How bad can it be?
Right.
$1,200. That's how bad it
Say.
was. Yeah.
So I wonder how much was the mirror.
They claimed that the mural was like $600 or $700 and the labor was the rest.
So you say you had the whole mirror and the bracket and
Yeah.
everything.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
which when they ordered it, chances are it came in a box already assembled. The only thing they had to do was unscrew the bolts on my panel of my truck and then put it
Mhm.
on there. That's all they had to do.
Yeah, knowing what you know now, I'm sure you would have done it yourself.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you just would have went and got it and done it yourself, or see if anybody else had it in stock, had that mirror in stock. You
yeah,
know,
man. But them
but
guys,
that's
man, huh?
yeah, that's a learning curve.
Yeah, yeah, that's criminal activity too.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's criminal. Yeah, I don't even know how that could even be considered legal, man. That's called to me that's almost like and I'm not accusing them of it, especially online. I'm just saying the scenario. That's
Okay.
almost like extortion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, think about it. Okay, you bring your truck to me for a mirror. We got to order the parts. We know we didn't tell you that.
Hmm.
Uh, okay, so you want to take the trucks one? Okay, that'd be 400 something dollars.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
you ain't
Right
got
off,
the four
right
hundred
off
some
bat.
dollars? Oh, okay, well your truck will be in the back when you got the $400.
Mm.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I mean, some people call it bullshit business. That's not business.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sad because they can put a whole lot of people in the bind. They just built that shop, Memphis Freightliner. They just built that shop here a few years ago, fairly new. And when you look at it, I used to be leased on to Swift Transportation back in the day, and a lot of these major trucking companies they have rate cuts because of their volume that they can bring in to the shop. So they're not paying what an owner operator would pay. Owner operators, in my opinion, and small carriers or small trucking companies are actually paying the salaries. They're actually paying for those new buildings because we're paying full price for everything.
Right,
Whereas a larger carrier, when I was with Swift, when we was getting that having been charged that 105 an hour,
right,
if I took the truck in to a Freightliner to get work done, I'm getting charged 105. But if I allowed one of the Swift mechanics, if I say, "Hey, this is wrong with my truck, that's wrong with my truck. I want to take it to Freightliner. Can you take it there for me?" If I let a Swift mechanic take it to Freightliner, well, it was just $55 an hour. They get half the rate, 55 an hour, because that was Swift's shop rate to us, to the all owner operators.
right.
And so we got the same rate with whatever shop we went to,
Yeah,
and it would be amazing if they extended that same service, to owner operators.
No, what's amazing is we don't be pissed off by that. You know what I'm
That
saying?
yeah.
Or you got some people that may be listening or will listen, may say, "Oh man, that can't be true." You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That should piss us off.
Yeah, it should. I know I was pissed. That's why I stopped going to the dealership.
Yeah,
And found me a couple good mechanics. That I had me two shops. I had a
right.
shop, a group of guys that did all my little quick stuff, oil changes, brake jobs, whatever, little electrical issues. And then I had another shop that did all my major work.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, look, real quick, I want to interrupt because I see you had comment on Mr. Anthony
Uh huh.
comment there. Yeah, because you probably don't know, but I can answer that. I didn't see the comment earlier, so if you don't mind me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Uh,
Answer.
Actually, it yeah, it's a very powerful tool. He said, "Is Samsara a good one?" That's what we use here at Southeastern. Yeah,
Yeah. That.
Samsara. Hey, if you wondering how your dispatcher know every move you making, that's how. I mean, they are a powerful tool, man. They can tell you, man, everything that truck is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that truck is doing, except for when you get in and out of that truck.
Right.
But everything that truck is doing, yeah, it's a very powerful, expensive tool. Thank you for
Yeah.
commenting.
Yeah. And I know they have a lot of. Samsara has a lot of other technology. They do a lot of stuff for reefers also.
Right,
So you can check on analytics and check on the functioning, control the function of the reefer. We talked about it in a previous discussion
right.
about reefers and everything. But yeah, I know they have that technology capabilities.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, man, like we was talking earlier, like you touched on earlier about when we were speaking about the shippers
Hmm.
and how they're getting trucks and blase blase. For those who don't know, Gene ran across an unfolding story here with Merck's partnering with Kodak on autonomous truck driving. Merck's, those who don't know who Merck's is, they're basically known as a shipping vessel company. They own ships that ship from overseas, but they're
Right.
starting to expand as well. But Gene, I'm gonna let you explain a little bit more about this right here. I know you're pulling your notes up on it.
Hmm.
I'll give you a
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, so this basically autonomous trucks, and a lot of guys um pretty much not everybody's kind of like up in the air right now. Will this something? Will it last? Will it actually come to pass, or will it fall by the wayside? Well, Merck's basically is saying that hey, they've already partnered with Kodiak, which is an autonomous trucking service, and they're going to be doing runs from Houston, from their terminal, their port there in Houston to Oklahoma City. Uh,
Mm.
with no trucks in it. They're going to be doing one load a
Yeah,
day.
with no drivers in it.
Exactly, my
Yeah.
bad. Yeah, with no drivers in it. So 24 hours a day, 4 days a week between Houston and Oklahoma City. Now, for those who may not know or never really been in that area, that's about a 445-mile drive that they're going to be using. And so from Houston, you have Dallas, Texas, you're going to be going through, and then you have Oklahoma City. Gonna go over there, make that delivery, and from what one of the spokespersons has said, the spokesperson for Maersk, he's the global head of innovation for logistics and services. That's what they call it. And he said that the main reason that they were going this route was because it was a few factors. He said one was the driver's hours of service, which
Mhm.
along that route, you got three major cities you running in between in a 445-mile stretch. And so they saying that the hours of service was an issue. Um, so basically, the driver would have to pick the load up, whatever his hours were when he left that facility, that port in Houston, in order to get to Oklahoma City.
Mhm.
So the hours of service was a factor that it played a role in them making this decision. And he also said the struggle to find parking, before their hours of service were up, was another factor in this. And for those who may not know, free parking is hard to find. Parking has gotten worse, from the time I ran over the road, and free parking is hard to find. And a lot of places have expanded their paid parking, a lot of the major truck stops, to where they're starting to charge you more for paid parking. And it's anywhere from, if you're along those routes, which I checked out those truck stops, the major truck stop chains. I'm unfamiliar with the mom and pops, but the major truck stop chains, the TAs, Petros, Pilots, and Flying J's, they charging you anywhere from $17 to $20 a night
But
to
then we
park.
run across a story that there was a pilot somewhere that built a truck stop strictly for autonomous trucks.
I don't remember that story. Um, I'm sure a lot of them are coming up because a lot of places, Arizona and New Mexico, is big. Is trying to do that with autonomous. A lot of other companies are coming out in Texas and trying to do pave the way for autonomous trucking. And one of the other things that the spokesperson for Maersk said was that people would kind of wonder, okay, well, if it's going to be a completely driverless truck, how
Mhm.
do, how are you going to open up the doors, so that it can dock, and how are you going to hook up the airlines and do the drop and hook? Well, he said that they're going to be using vision equipped robots,
Mhm.
and those vision equipped robots can open up the doors, can drop and hook it, and connect the airlines.
Yeah,
So,
I actually found a story, Jen. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted
okay,
to,
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
confirm this. Yeah, it was reported August of this year. It's a pilot travel center in Villa Rica, Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah, actually they are partnering. Hold on a second. The service launched in partnership with self-driving trucking. They are partnered with Kodak Robotics, Pilot
Mm,
Travel Center.
okay.
I think, man, I want to say Kodak is owned by Warren Buffett, ain't it?
I didn't go into research to see
You know
who
what I'm saying?
owned it.
Or this truck stop here. Now don't quote me on that, but yeah, but go on, continue. I just want to confirm that.
Yeah, but yeah, I was just finishing up on the robotics. For people who may be, a lot of the drivers who may be wondering, well, how are they going to do all this without a driver? Well, like
Actually,
I
you
said,
just getting started on it, because you got other stuff going on in the autonomous trucking industry too that we got to touch on as well. So
uh huh,
actually, you just getting started. We just started with the top dog of them all.
with the top one, uh huh,
Yeah, Maersk,
yeah,
man, a shipping vessel company it has been reported within the last month to lay off 10,000 employees are investing in autonomous trucks.
right. They said they wanted to start investing in ground transportation. Is get involved in the ground transportation. So
Man, the rich so greedy, man.
yeah, but
Oh
Maersk is
man.
also let's see, is it Maersk or it was another port? Because a lot of these ports around the country and shucks around the world are going autonomous. So they are getting rid of the crane operators. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
And
wow.
they're getting automated cranes. Getting rid of the crane operators and the yard drivers.
Shout
You
out
know.
to BNSF in Memphis, Norfolk Southern, and Rossville, Tennessee. Can't wait to welcome the autonomous crane operator. Shout out.
I think that's would be a warm welcome. A lot of drivers will probably be welcome with that because
Let me stop
we've
being petty,
all
man, before I get in trouble, man.
yeah, I think a lot of drivers will welcome because I've read an article where a driver said, "Hey, I'm waiting for autonomous at the rail yard, because then you won't have to worry about a crane operator just flying past you when you've been sitting there for a long time." Now I
Right,
don't know what
yeah,
goes on.
uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know what goes on inside the crane, what they see in their computer,
Oh,
information that they get,
man, you gotta
so
start
I
telling
can't.
me your talking points, man, so I could upload these clips because I need that little boy a
Hey,
bullshit. A bullshit. Man, you need to start letting me know your
Yeah.
talking points ahead of
Hey, I
time,
didn't
bro.
know we were gonna talk about that. Yeah, we just got on that. But I just, just remember just reading or coming across that article. A guy was talking about, yeah, I can't wait for that.
uh,
He was what I'm saying, a container driver, and so he was just tired of the long wait times at the rail yard. He like, I don't know if I'm gonna be there an hour or 5 hours.
yeah.
And that is sad when it comes
Ye-
to that.
Well, you know what's even sadder than that is that
Uh
you
huh.
know that once autonomous hit for that right there, like out there in California, what's going on? Sooner or later, you can bet your ass that it's going to hit the trucks too, as we see that now.
Right.
Yeah, so they want to be fully autonomous all the way around when it comes to intermodal. It's looking like
Yep. I think the either the L.A. port or the Long Beach port. There's I think it was the L.A.
I think.
port out there.
Oh, okay, it was the airport.
I
Okay,
think it was the LA port because both of them have a port. LA and Long Beach, they like side by side. But the
right,
LA port was like one of the first to go autonomous, to start putting in that autonomous technology. And that was probably like 10 years ago, 18 years ago, they started really putting in that autonomous technology.
right,
And so I'm sure, here in the near future, they may be probably completely autonomous when it
right.
comes to their operation on a lot of the cranes and the yard trucks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
yeah, so I mean, that's a powerful entity.
right.
You know, that's a powerful entity. So I don't know if anything can be done about it because when self driving goes out the window, you could bet sure shouldn't uh striking going out with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Unless you're gonna stand out there and start pulling some wires and shit. But yeah, this is another topic that you touched on. Now, this is about
Yeah.
another autonomous company,
Right.
TuSimple. They're actually failing.
Right.
I'll let you touch on that.
Yeah. So Too Simple basically is a company, which is another autonomous company that basically have the technology and everything for companies to run autonomous trucks or run driverless trucks. And so they're laying off 150 employees in the U.S. Now they had a U.S. operation and they had an Asian operation, and they basically started them. Two separate companies, but I can't say if they started them around the same time or not. But their U.S. arm of this company is pretty much failing. And so they're deciding to, hey, we just finna go ahead and wind down. I didn't see anything where they had an actual end date of when they were going to just shut everything down. But as of right now, they're laying off 150 employees, and they're focusing, putting their main focus into their Asian markets. They were talking about they had a contract over in Japan, running particular corridors between like three major cities. So right
Hmm.
now, that's pretty much where their attention is right now, because they're just losing a lot of money in the U.S. So this is one indicator, which I know a lot of drivers would be happy with this story. I told you that
Yeah,
wasn't gonna work,
yeah.
but this is just one company so far of others who pretty much just kind of like falling by the wayside and just said we just gonna go ahead and leave it alone for the time being, and who knows what the future holds. They might decide to come back, but right now, for their U.S. operation, they just gonna focus on Japan right now.
Well, let's kind of get an idea of how close they actually are. I'm looking at an article here reported by ATBS. How
Okay.
close is it before autonomous trucks are actually hitting the road? So it looks like it was a four-phase operation, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It says phase one will involve a technique called platooning, in which a fleet of trucks will follow a lead truck on the highway. So
Okay.
that's going to be phase one of the self-driving truck. Phase two, technology will have developed enough to have a human driver and only the lead truck, while a convoy of autonomous truck follows closely behind That's expected by 2025. Phase
Okay.
3, the lead trucks are completely autonomous on the highway. However, a human driver will still likely be needed in the lead truck for navigating small roads and loading docks, but expected by around 2030, which is, well, that's expected around 2030, the phase 3. But phase
Okay.
4 says that it will be completely driverless on the
Mm,
road at scale. Optimistic estimates say it will come sometime in the early 2030, while the more conservative ones say it will take until the end of that decade. So they still, it looks like, you know what I mean? Because we've been hearing about out there in Vegas that they've been
yeah.
like testing
Um,
them.
yeah, a lot of companies like UPS have been doing when it comes to a lot of this new technology, UPS was one of the companies that were one of the first to kind of test it out in those areas from that LA to that LA to Vegas route because that's like I think it's like 300 miles, 350 miles, just straight driving almost. Once you got them San Bernardino mountains in California, it's like straight driving. And so on those routes, they do a lot of testing and a lot of runs in those areas. And I think that's one of the routes that I-15 route they do a lot of testing when it comes to autonomous vehicles. Also across I-10 they did a lot of stuff across Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, just that open country. It's shoot speed limit 80 miles an hour, 75, 80 miles an hour out there. So hey,
Right.
that's where they do a lot of their testing.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
so
it looks like they're getting close. I mean, so we can't, you know, I mean, I know we want to be happy, but man, these are rich, powerful people, man. They got enough of money for fails.
mhm,
You know what I mean? They got enough money for fails. So, I mean, just
right,
don't get too happy.
right.
I
No,
hate
you
disappointment.
yeah,
You
you
know,
can't.
yeah,
Now, this other company, Starsky Robotics, they were one of the first company. They started in 2015, but
right.
they were one of the first companies to kind of exit, and stop doing the autonomous trucks. You know, the CEO and founder, one of his comments that he made after asked why did the company fail, he was just saying that the machine learning technology for autonomous vehicles is not advanced enough. He said the type of supervised learning used currently cannot solve self driving well enough to reach the necessary safety and capability thresholds. He said major technological leaps are still required in this area. He said the trucking industry itself poses adoption challenges. He said
This is a
despite
representative from
inefficiency,
Starsky Robotics
this the
saying it.
CEO and founder is pretty much
Oh,
what
okay.
he's saying. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
He
okay.
said this.
Please continue.
Yeah, he said the trucking
Yeah.
industry itself poses adoption challenges. He said despite inefficiencies and a driver shortage, the industry change and lacks readiness for autonomous trucks. Targeting simple highway routes did not suffice to overcome barriers, and that's what their strategy was coming into the industry with this company. Their strategy was we're going to try to find the best roads, the easiest roads to drive on, the least congested highways. They was trying to do routes where it didn't have a whole lot of traffic, a whole lot of just a lot of congestion. They tried to stay away from congestion. And if it encountered situations where a truck or a vehicle was moving slower than
Mhm.
they had it programmed to where their truck would just right at a distance,
Right.
so they tried their best to program it in a way to where it made it as easy as possible. But he was saying there was still a lot of challenges, because you
Mhm.
still have to have a lot of funding to do it. So one of his suggestions that he pretty much said to other startups were pretty much to, hey, find a way to enter the industry or enter the autonomous market where you can find a way to make money right now selling some, because he's saying just the autonomous portion of it, that's something
Mhm.
that's going to happen far off. You pretty much waiting for a company to want to invest that type of money to hope and pray that it works.
Right.
As he was saying, hey, if you're gonna do this as an autonomous company, get in get into an area to where you can just start selling something right now, making what can you do to start making money right now, as opposed to something that this might work in the future,
Right. Right. Right.
so but yeah, those were the stories that we had in terms of the autonomous trucks. It's something that's going to be on the way, but hey, would you say 2030 they was talking about possibly,
Yeah, they said
having
in the
a lot.
early 2030s they plan on having it completely
Yeah.
autonomous. You
Okay.
know, yeah, that's what they I mean, that's messed up, man. But it's a God up there. You
Yeah.
can bank
Well.
on that. Yeah. So, but let's talk about another topic here.
Hmm.
You know, for them to justify,
Okay.
why they want to make all these moves on us. Let's talk about fraud. So, here it look like we got DAT has put in a fraud protection policy.
Hmm.
Um, to basically cover their ass. No, I'm just kidding. But it look like well, I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. But it looks like they put in a fraud protection policy to cover them. So, what's your opinion on that? Like, do you think that they should have responsibility of the fraud that's going on? If so, or if not, why?
Well, I think that, and for those who may not know who DAT is, DAT has operates a load board for truckers.
Right,
Brokers and shippers and carriers can post loads to this load board for um, owner operators and carriers to pick for them. So, excuse me. And so, um, from what we've seen, DAT has just pretty much gave access, seems like, to anybody who wants to get an account can
mm,
can get an account with them as a broker or a shipper to post loads, and anyone as a carrier. And I think that they should be held have some level of responsibility because they ask you for your DOT number, your MC number when you're signing up. And I think they should at least do their due diligence to verify these companies, the brokers and the carriers that post loads, to do their due diligence to see, do background checks and to see, are these companies verifiable?
right.
So
Yeah. Uh I think that they should take a lot of heat. I'm like you. I think they should take a lot of heat. Because like you say, they run all these checks. Where they give you the impression that they run all these checks, they have all these checks and balance. How do you have frauds getting on your load board, uh, taking loads or selling other people's loads? You
right.
know, and to me, you know, it's a wise business decision, but they may have gotten a lot of heat from
Hmm.
shippers, brokers, and carriers on, like what role of responsibility are you going to play in this here? We dealt with this fraud through through your load board. You're the middleman in the connection.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? So, what responsibility are you going to assume? So I think this is honestly, I think this is to like cover their ass,
Yeah.
truth be told, because ain't no telling, what's been going on behind closed doors. They probably been getting threats of lawsuits, all kind of you digs, you know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah, so so that's how I look at that. I look at that as just, for them to cover their ass, which, from a business perspective, I don't blame them. But from a moral standpoint, like, hey, you got to get some of that responsibility too. Now you can't just get all the way off the hook now, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just get
Yeah.
all the way off the hook.
Yeah, because after somebody is scammed, a broker or carrier scam, they're left to lead, pick up the pieces. DAT is, they don't have anything, have
No
no part in it.
responsibility, man. And they were
Right.
charging me $125 a month. Now they
That's crazy.
and was slick with it too, because I was the type like this. I only watched the money that was coming out of my account on the big bills, when running my own operation. So
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention to DAT because it was automatic. Now we started out at like 90 something dollars a month.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how we get up to $125 and the lows ain't up there.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
damn.
'Cause Yeah, because it wasn't until recently, because it's been so long since I had the low board. It wasn't until recently I didn't know they had a $50 plan no more. Because they used to have a
Yeah.
$50 plan. I think they start
No, it
off with
was
like
60. That was Trucker's Edge. It was like
tr-
60. And then the
okay,
DAT Power was like, I want to say
like a
$190, something like
100.
that.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they had like you said about 60. Then they had $100 plan. That's the
Yeah.
plan I used to have back in the day. You could see everything. The past 15 days. You
Right.
know, and
Right.
then they had one that was like 150 that gave
Right.
you a little bit more insight.
Right.
So
Right, and that's probably why they changed their website up, because they had, before we had back down, end up closing. They had changed from www.truckers edge website to
oh yeah,
that one. And
right.
that one, I always was familiar with that as like a free option that anybody could use to surf the load board or whatever. But
Uh-huh.
now that they putting this fraud protection, they coming out with this fraud protection policy deal. That's probably what they was doing. They probably had to tear down and reconstruct everything because they had got compromised by
Oh yeah.
frauds. Because frauds, I must say, if any of you watching, you using your talents in the wrong way. Because anytime they can, this lady out of California, remember, they called her, sent her a verification text like the bank do, and asked her to repeat it
Oh
back
yeah.
to them. And she repeated the number back to them, and they got access to her account off a number they sent her.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of them do that, and they have that. A lot of them are very. Because I see videos all the time of those scammers. What is this? A guy, a hacker? He scammed those scammers,
right,
and he'll hack into, because you got play. What's it over in India? I believe was where they had a lot of those shops at, and he'll pretty much hack into their camera system and hack into their computers and all their software and their phones. He can hear the phone conversations and everything, and he
yeah.
just so I like watching
And
those
for those
videos.
who missed it, Gene is actually talking about this guy that was hacking into the hacker system, the
Right.
scammer system. It's fine, but go ahead. You know what I'm saying? Because I figured they probably missed that part.
Yeah, and so that what that guy would do, he would for a few days he would just kind of listen in and watch their cameras and kind of get an idea of their operation and how they were doing everything. And once he
Right,
get an idea of who the key players are, who the supervisors are, who the important people are, and now he'll work up a plan to just pretty much expose them. So he'll record them and
right,
expose them and put them out there on YouTube. And so, but the local governments usually didn't do anything, to them.
right.
So,
But that's because government passed policy and opened up the doors for all this to happen. And they started that being able to spy on your stuff, all that old stuff. Man, you get a computer hacker, man, that ain't nothing but an invite. You just really just laid out the welcome mat for them. The only thing they gotta do is just pick the lock. You
right.
know what I mean? You only got one lock locked on the
Yeah.
door.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so yeah, So but speaking of fraud, before we move on to the carrier 411, let me uh this next video here, this is about a
Well,
broker. Well, I'll let
one
her.
of them just bit me in the ass, guys. We had a load from February that we hired MC number 1440636 HOTOL Transport Inc. out of California to haul a load from Florida to California. They in turn gave it to a company called Coast to Coast, and Coast to Coast in turn gave it to another company. So double, triple brokered. And here's the deal: we paid one rate, they brokered it for more, they never got paid. That is the danger of you taking a double brokered load, by the way. You take a load from somebody that double brokered it, you have a huge risk in not being paid. So the company that hauled it has filed for collection, right? And they're coming back to my customer, who is then looking at us like, what are you doing? We're going back to the company that we went to file a freight guard report, all this good stuff. But I'm not the only one that's filed it. So it looks like several people have filed it, and they've been since gone out of business. But they're not paying their carrier. The carrier's not paying their, like, the only person that gets hurt in this, guys, because we have insurance for it, the only person that gets hurt in this is the carrier that hauled the load, because he's now sold this to collections for pennies on the dollar, and will settle with collections for pennies on the dollar. And it sucks. It sucks for that to happen to you guys. All you have to do is a little due diligence to realize that you have a double brokered load. That's it. That's all you have to do. What's hilarious is that the bill of lading has our name on it. So the carrier that hauled the load could have called us immediately and said, hey, I got this load from this company. And we would have chased it down, cut all of them out, and made sure they got paid timely. But now it's gone from February to November. This carrier sold their debt to a collections person for pennies on the dollar. They probably didn't even break even because it was Florida to California. And now here we are, however many months later. Like, do your homework, guys. Do your homework. We try as brokers to catch this. I do. I try to catch it. I have to have the driver's name, the driver's cell phone number. The shipper's now asking for information. We're looking at the sides of the truck. Like, we're doing the things that we're doing. But if you go along with it, if you take the load and then you don't get paid, is it my fault? Is it my fault that you didn't do your due diligence? I'm interested to see how you're going to pin this on the broker. When we do our due diligence, we have a no tolerance policy. We do all of the things, and yet the company that actually hauls the freight still says yes. How do you fix that? Like, how do I fix that? Unless you, as the driver and the company owner and the company dispatcher that's responsible for that truck, do some reading and some due diligence on your end, instead of just blindly picking up loads without asking questions. At what point do you take responsibility for it? At what point?
When we gain access to the shipper, that's at what point we start taking responsibility. As long as you're the go between, ma'am, you are the responsible party for that load. You can't put off on the driver your responsibility when the driver don't even know how much the whole load is paying anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, ma'am, you hold the responsibility. That's my opinion on that.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm only saying this because she put it in the comments, so I assume she wanted everybody to know. She's a broker with a company called Sureway. Just in case you haven't heard of Sureway, you may have heard of ATS Transportation. I think they do a lot of heavy haul.
Right. They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do a lot of oversized loads. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm gonna let you chime in on it. I got a little bit more to say on the topic, but I'm gonna let you chime in on it.
Well, with that, I think that as a carrier, it is our responsibility as a carrier to do our due diligence. We still do our due diligence in terms of making sure that, and we talked about this in the previous video, of making sure that whoever we're going to pull a load from, their broker or whatever, to keep us safe from to keep yourself safe from in any type of fraud, you want to make sure you checking that broker's DOT number. You even said once before, listen to your factoring company,
Yeah,
because your factoring company, they're not lying to you. If they say we don't work with them, then
yeah,
hey, we don't work with them. Hey, or they'll tell you, hey, you can work with them at your own risk, but we're not going to pay out if they
right,
if they refuse to pay.
right,
And so there are a few things that carriers can do, but as a broker, you still have to take your responsibility in, because as a broker, you are the middleman. The broker, you are the voice of the carrier. You are the voice of reason, and it's your job to make sure that you speak on the behalf of that carrier to that customer, and make sure that everything is set in place so that when that carrier go and pick up those loads, that everything else kind of runs smoothly.
right, right.
Yeah.
Well,
So.
well, I kind of agree with you
Hmm.
on certain aspects of it, and I disagree at the same time. And the reason why is
Okay.
because I had uh I had got a clear understanding of the co-brokering,
Okay.
you know, that some brokers claim that don't exist when we got on the intermodal side. Now, again, I'll say this lady here, she works with Sureway,
Yeah.
ATS Transport, doing business at Sureway, and I've personally had experiences with uh hauling for Sureway. We used to haul some pallets for them out of um Tennessee, the rural area of Tennessee. They didn't pay much or nothing on it, but they were blind shipments. Now I know they're gonna say, especially her, she will say, well, blind shipments are not the same thing. Well, that's true, but the point that I'm getting to is that if it's a blind shipment, that means that somebody is operating with the logistics of it that doesn't supposed to have their hands on it. So,
Hmm.
so that means that somebody had to give it to you in order for you to give it to a carrier and say that that's a blind shipment. You see what I'm saying? So like when you have blind shipments going on, which is what they call co-brokering, if that broker decides to pass it on to a carrier or another brokerage and they give it to another company, obviously somebody who's at the top that got their hands on their load is not doing their due diligence, because from our understanding and our experience with the brokering side, the shippers in most cases don't want you doing that because they
No,
want to know where their
they
freight
won't.
at, who
Right.
has their freight. You know what I mean? And then some of them, like the big ones, like General Mills, they have a bidding platform. So it's no telling how much information is on that particular lane when you're bidding on it, and then you can get a fraud that can hack into the system. What
Hmm.
is it called that they wanted $1,500 for the EDI system?
Yeah. Yeah. That
Yeah,
EDI system.
hackers can break into that system and post that load on the load board and put it out there on DAT load board for you to get it. So how in the heck are you going to ask the carrier to assume all responsibility when you have that many entities in on that load like that? And
Right.
that's what I'm saying on that right there. And then, as far as the part where she's talking about where our name was on the bills, okay, what if it's a blind shipment, like my experience with Sureway, and the broker say, don't contact nobody on that BOL, just tell the receiver or the shipper you picking up for such and
You
such
checking in
and
as,
such.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? So no, you can't put that all on the carrier because y'all got too much stuff going on with this co-brokering stuff that the
Hmm.
carrier don't even know about.
Right.
So yeah, so she dead wrong for that. You know what I mean? Uh, to her credit, she did look like she just woke up. She probably had a bad dream and just said, "Hey, I'm gonna get on my phone and just talk crazy." I don't know. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Hey, look, and just in case she's watching, I'm not saying that you're not a nice looking lady. You just look like you just woke up. So I don't know. You did look kind of stressed out, but no, man. No, you can't ask Carrie to assume our responsibility. Hey, we already have enough on us as carriers anyway than to be doing your job,
Yeah.
in intermodal, you know, I ran across brokers that I had to actually do their job for them.
Yeah, I
Shout out
remember.
to Cyrus and Russ. We love y'all.
Yeah, yeah. I remember
I
because a lot of those brokers
hey,
end up getting
hey,
those
Gene, Gene,
contract.
Gene.
Yeah.
This is
What?
America. I reserve the right to be petty.
Oh, nah. Yeah, I remember when you telling me about that.
Yeah.
A lot of those brokers that you were dealing with at the time, they didn't understand how to do some of the
Yeah.
procedures. They didn't understand. They had the loads,
Yeah. I mean, work the
they
hell out of me. You know what I mean? And I don't
yeah,
have access to what you have access to. You,
right.
you giving me a price. I don't see the paperwork. So how am I as the carrier solely responsible? Hell no. And and all you other owner operators out there, don't you fall for no crap like that. No, no, no. You don't assume all responsibility. I'm sorry, Jay. Go ahead.
Oh, no, no, you go ahead. Yeah. But yeah, 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 when it comes to that, yeah, because I remember oftentimes, and this was the intermodal. We talking about the intermodal loads.
Right,
That those intermodal loads, there's so many. The intermodal loads pass through so many hands.
man.
From from start to finish, you don't know actually who's. uh, you may have a freight forwarder that you're booking a load with,
Yeah.
but you know,
And they
it's
telling you
still.
they're a broker, but they're actually freight forwarders.
Right. And
Yeah,
freight forwarders are, like we said before, they kind of like shippers. They do everything in-house. A lot of them.
yeah,
They have a brokerage department. They have trucks of their own.
yeah,
They got warehouses. They do all of that stuff in-house.
yeah.
So a lot of stuff passed through so many hands, you don't know where it's coming from, how many more hands it's going to pass through once you get done with it.
Yeah,
And I just remember that during that process, some of those brokers didn't understand what role they played
right,
in moving the freight and putting it into the next person's hands.
right.
All that they know, hey, we got this load. We know the rate that we get in. They just sitting back counting their dollars,
Yeah,
and they knew the rate that they got for it. And hey, we just gonna find a truck for it, but didn't
right.
understand how to move it along to the next process.
Well, see, that's because in a lot of cases, like when the pandemic hit well, especially when the pandemic hit, you had so many brokers come on the scene, man, and they were basically like like I'm not even going to give them enough credit to call them agents. They
Okay.
was just somebody like they weren't decision makers when you had an issue.
Okay.
They was basically customer service. They call out, they get on the load board, call out, they get on the loadmatch.com, get the email list and send out loads, send out a bolo of loads. And then when you contact them, their only job is to broker that deal with you. They already been told what's the highest rate they can give. And that's it. Once you book that load with them, just think about it. When you have problems, issue on that load and you call that same broker, this is what you're gonna get. Let me call you back. Hold on just a minute. Let me send you an email. It's because they're not decision makers. The one that you need to be talking to, who actually know what's going on, won't even get on the phone because they playing
Mhm.
this I'm a broker position. You talk to the people in my staff,
Right.
but your staff don't know what's going on when when things get gritty. So now you got your ass out the office, gone down to eat at a Piccadilly's or something, or you decide to take a lunch break and go to the beach or something, and you got
Mhm.
problems going on at the office. You got drivers, trucks held up, waiting on you to get back, and all they doing is lying to you, saying, "Give me 30 more minutes, give me an hour."
Yeah.
All this kind of crap. No, man, I don't go for no crap like that, man. I know what's going on because I mean, because I like to study people. When I'm dealing with people, I really like to study people. And that's what I ended up finding out because, not only do I like to study people, I like to apply pressure too. And what I mean by that is that when you get an
Mhm.
agent that's in a situation that he really unfamiliar with, and you keep calling and applying pressure, and you get to talking that logistic language. When things go
Right.
wrong and they don't
Yeah.
know what to do, they'll break down and tell you, "Look, man, I." I'm just a broker agent, and and my boss, I'm waiting on them to respond because you done applied so much pressure to them, they done ran out of lies to tell you. So the only thing
Mhm.
left is the truth,
Right.
because then yeah, because they start feeling like, why am I under so much pressure and I'm getting paid by the hour? I'm only getting paid a percentage. This shit's gonna be running smooth. You know what I mean? Yeah, you
Yeah.
put that pressure on them, man. You start finding out stuff, man. So nah, man. You know what I'm saying? You as a carrier cannot be fooled by what that young lady said about when we're gonna hold responsibility. We're not supposed to. We hold the responsibility to go get a lawyer if you don't pay us. And to comment about what she said about our name is on the BOL. I've had issues where another company name, was on the BOL. Shout out to DSV, Freight Foreign Company. Well, where their name was on the BOL, and you called them, they hang up on you.
Mm.
And you having an issue with a load that got their name on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So no, man, that don't always work. Now you talking to somebody that's probably just as experienced as you are in this field, based on being on the other side and being able to pick brains and find out what's really going on the other side. So now y'all, a lot of brokers have a lot of messed up business practices, and we know that for a fact. Gene and I both know, by us being carrier and broker, we've been in the rooms with brokers who
Right.
laugh at the fact of giving us the lowest rate possible.
Yeah.
Proud of it, wear it like a badge of honor. This is no lie.
Right. Yeah. And then a lot of them will say that, hey, we're not responsible for that driver's expenses. We're not responsible for quoting them. They should know their own rate, you
Yep.
know. And in a lot of cases, we've been in rooms in a lot of cases where brokers themselves would say, well, yeah, this carrier, they gave me this rate, and the load was paying me $6,000. This is what one broker said in this room that we was in. And they said, yeah, the shipper was paying $6,000 on the load. I asked the driver, what could you do the load for? He said, I can do this load for 3,500. I asked him if he can do it for 3,000. And we kind of went back and forth, and he said,
I
"Yeah,
thought he
yeah, I
got
can do
them
it for
down to
3,000."
2,000. It was 3,000.
No, he said 3,000.
Okay.
I forgot how many miles that load was going, but he
Hmm.
got him down to 3,000. And he said, "Man," and he said, "Yeah, I'll go ahead and do it," because I think the guy was going home or something. And he said, "Man, I made $3,000 on one load." You
Right.
know, and I was like,
Right.
"Wow."
And that's why we need a forum of some kind where all drivers can be members of. I'm talking about small company, none of this big company shit, small companies, so that you can formulate a system where you have a set rate across the board. Because, like he said, the broker said in a meeting, and we've seen them on TikTok saying the same thing. You supposed to know your expenses. Well, what good is it to know our expenses when you keep talking us down off our expenses, then and when we won't take it, some other driver will?
Right,
That's why we need unity in something like a forum where we can communicate and set our own rates across the board so we can give their asses less room to wiggle out of.
right.
They need to know that when they get on the phone with an owner operator, no matter where I go, every owner operator is going to give me a rate within
Charging
that
around.
10 to 20% range that the first one
Um,
gave. Yeah.
right,
Yeah. We don't need to come off no more than 10. You know what I'm saying? If that was on the form in that case, and that driver set that rate for 3,500, uh the less rate that he should have got, I mean at the bare minimum is 3,450.
hmm
No matter where he went, the lowest you can get is 3,450.
right.
Yeah, that's why we need
Yeah.
some kind of unity.
Yeah, yeah, because and I'm pretty sure that driver at the time, like you said, he was probably going home, and he probably had the mentality: if I don't do it, I won't be able to get home. Somebody else will do
But he need to keep his ass at home.
it.
Yeah, close,
Yeah,
close, close,
that's
close
the
to home as possible. Don't get out here fucking up the market for every other driver
yeah, and that's
because you
usually the
want to
mentality.
take a load way out across the country and then take peanuts going back because you trying to get home. Well, it's
Yeah,
somebody already at home trying to get back out your way at the highest price because ain't nothing paying good out there.
yep, and that's usually the issue. A lot of guys get in those areas where the rates don't pay well, and they just haul it for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, but just speaking on these brokers, let's touch on, hey Gene, don't hold me back now. Don't hold
Oh,
me
go
back.
ahead. Oh yeah,
Look,
yeah. I know. This was your article on Carrier 411.
yeah,
I know
right,
they.
right.
I know they had put they. Yeah, go and tell them about it. How they put that up.
For for
Uh,
those who don't know, when you hear a broker say freight guard, this is the company that they're talking about. This
right.
company is called Carrier 411. And what we have been noticing is that this is a platform that a lot of brokers use that they go to, like we go to Safer Web to check
Mm,
DOT numbers, safety score rating, and all that.
right. Right.
Uh, they are a platform that does that for brokers. Now they advertise that they do a lot of stuff for carriers, but the brokers actually dominate that site. Okay, when a broker is a member of that site and you have a issue with this broker, it could be a personal issue, it could be nothing. If a broker decide they want to get in their feelings, they can go on this site and put a freight guard on you. Now, a lot of big brokering companies use this platform so that when they see that freight guard on you, they don't want to work
Hmm.
with you
Right.
because you're looked at as a risk. Now, a broker can falsify information on you. Yeah, I mean, it happened to me. I had to call Carrier 411 and the broker and threaten a lawsuit for defamation of character,
Hmm.
because he had falsified information that was affecting my company. You
Right. I
know,
remember. I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, yeah, but these jokers here, the only way I could get carrier 411 for because I guess through safer web by pulling your phone numbers, they know when you're a carrier calling.
Oh,
And they
okay.
already have it in the system in some cases to where they won't talk to you. So the only way you can really reach them to far as my experience, to talk to them as a carrier is that you have to be calling from a number that's not listed on Safer
Okay.
Web, or
Yeah.
you have to email them. But like when I started talking about that defamation of character, they reached out to be quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He started
And
talking about a lawsuit. Yeah.
yeah, because and that signal to me that they are doing like bad business practices here, and I think they need to be blown up for what they're allowing brokers to do. I really don't even think that platform should exist if that's how they're going to operate, where a broker could just come up there and make up stuff on you saying that you holding lows hostage, and you know
Right.
what I'm saying, and all this kind of crap to
And,
because see, 'cause that'll scare any other broker away. Oh man,
and
he'll hold lows hostage.
And especially if they're not giving the carrier the opportunity to defend themselves.
That's the
Because at
thing.
least DAC, if a carrier puts something on the driver's DAC report,
Right.
DAC will allow that driver to fight for
Yeah.
for himself, to defend
Yeah.
his name,
Yeah.
and get stuff removed, and they got a process you can go through to get that stuff removed.
Yeah. Because like the reason why that hey, because I still got paperwork from when I first started. I still got BOLs when I started in 2018. So I don't delete nothing. And this is the prime example why you shouldn't. I had to send them email conversations of that broker and I to show that I was actually in the right, you
Okay.
know, yeah, making the decisions that I made, and that he falsified information on me, man. And I just didn't think that was cool. Like I could see them letting a broker post that. They do a review, they reach out to the carrier, they do like a 60-day review on it, give you a chance to
Mhm.
plead your case, show your proof, let them know what's going on before they post it in their system. Now, if you
Right.
deem guilty, okay, that's understandable, to put a freight guard, but also that freight guard should have, if it don't already have, it should have a statute of limitation or expiration date, if you will, of when that should come off. Just like points, if you get a safety rating score, against you, after so long that comes off. I think it
Yeah.
should be graded at a tier. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. They
Yeah.
should have some type of I don't know the word for the terminology for it, but they should have some type of process that carriers can fight for themselves
Yeah.
inside the system. You
Right.
know.
Before they post that up there like that. Oh
Right.
man. Look like we got 9 seconds left for our broadcast. And hey, thank you for joining us. Be safe out there.
All right.